Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Monday, October 14th, 2019. Monday Night Football just concluded, and the Packers defeated the Detroit Lions. You might recall that 1 year ago, the Packers at home defeated the 49ers in a comeback. That was October 15th, 2018. And if you followed me on Patreon then, we thought that game was as close to a lock as you could get. October 15th, 2018 was a date with 63 numerology. 63. Aaron Rodgers was going for his 63rd all-time win at home, and in Gematria, Aaron Rodgers equals 63. And the Packers were down for a good while to the 49ers and rallied at the very end of Monday Night Football to win the game 33-30, 63 combined points, and the announcer called out, "What a Hollywood script!" And I called the NFL league office the next day and in the middle of a live stream and left a recording that a lot of people liked. Anyway, that was a year ago today. October 15, 2018. It was Monday Night Football a year ago. And so here we are, a year later. Today also has 63 date numerology, but what was interesting about tonight's game is that if the Packers won, which they did, home teams were going to be 7-7 for the week. 7-7. And Matt Stafford would get his 77th regular season loss. And of course in Gematria, Green Bay equals 77. And we talked about how Bart Starr died 77 days. He died May 26th, 77 days before August 11th, the 100-year anniversary of the establishment of the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, over the years, has gotten some big injuries in connection to 77 dates. Special number with Green Bay, number that shows up all the time. They put up a stat tonight. I believe their running back had 7 carries for 77 yards, or maybe the receiver had 7 receptions for 77 yards, but right on the screen. And everyone who followed Patreon just grinned, because 77 is the number we're watching tonight. Home teams can become 7-7 for the week. So with the alphabetic order, Green Bay is 77. With the alphabetic order in rules numerology, Green Bay is 41. 41. Tonight, Green Bay got the 41st home win of the season for the entire NFL season for all home teams. Home teams are now 41-50-1. 41 wins, 50 losses, and 1 tie. Home teams have a losing record through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. The 41st home win was tonight. And if anyone doubts it, you can go count it up yourself. I guarantee you it's true. I presented it to paying customers on Patreon this morning. This is what we do day after day. Decode sports, call the numbers that often hit before the game. Yesterday we liked Minnesota to beat the Eagles because it was all about 38. The Eagles were going to fall to 3-8 at home. Or not at home, on the road at Minnesota. 3-8. And again, Gematria. Minnesota and Gematria. Sums to 38 in the most pure cipher. The Vikings went on to win with 38 points, and Kirk Cousins got his 38th career win. So you had a 38 going for Cousins, you had a 38 going against the Eagles, usually a good sign. And again, all these ciphers important. Minnesota's also 52, like they hosted Super Bowl 52. So anyway, let's talk more about tonight's football game, because that's the main point of this, and then we can talk about the other games this week. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers at the end of the game dropped back, and he was back there a long time getting all sorts of protection. And the same announcer who called out "What a Hollywood script" last year, he said, "Hollywoodish." And I was like, dude, this is just straight mockery. I haven't heard this guy use the word Hollywood since exactly a year ago with Aaron Rodgers. Guy does a lot of commercials. Remember, State Farm equals 103. The first game of the season for the Packers was a span of 103 days from the death of Bart Starr, and the Packers won it 10-3. 10-3, like how the first football game in history was October 3rd. Like how Scottish equals 103, and American football is credited to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry through Walter Camp. But anyway, tonight the Packers beat the Lions. Again, Stafford gets his 77th regular season loss. Home teams become 7-7 for the week. Green Bay 77, also 41, and the Packers pick up the 41st home win for home teams this year. And last night, for example, Steelers equals 50. Pittsburgh's also 50. And the Steelers picked up the 50th away win last night for the entire NFL season for away teams. Home teams were 40, 50, and 1 coming into tonight's game. Green Bay 41. Guess what home equals? Home 41. Guess what USA equals? Anyway, the NFL, America's game, 41's the 13th prime, NFL 13. So, anyway, these numbers, they're symbolic. They're special numbers to certain groups of people, like Freemasons. Again, that's the connection. That's why they do things this way. If you're for all the new, I have people who followed me for years, and I have people who find my videos for the first time, and they think I'm a new channel because it says I was just established 3 months ago. It's because YouTube continues to delete my channels. It's real irritating. I've been deleted 18 times since June of 2017 for making videos like this. I've even had videos just like this taken down. It's like, what terms of service am I violating? Showing how the NFL's rigged, undeniably. Doing it year after year. Hold on. Did you guys just catch what happened to Georgia? Look at this. The Georgia Bulldogs were just defeated by the South Carolina Gamecocks. When the women won the championship the other year for their college basketball team in the women's basketball tournament, the year of the bathroom bill, which was about can the trannies use the men or women's room. And both Carolina teams went on to win college championships. North Carolina over Gonzaga in the men's, South Carolina in the women's. The Carolinas lost the All-Star game for the bathroom bill, which again had to do with trannies and who can use what restroom. And they referred to that women's Gamecocks team throughout the tournament as the Lady Cocks. Think about it. Bathroom bill in the Carolinas. Can the trannies use whatever bathroom they want? And then the Lady Cocks, after the All-Star games pulled for the NBA for punishment for the bathroom bill, then in college, the Lady Cocks get the championship. Anyway, South Carolina Gamecocks defeated Georgia. They got a red bird for a logo. Major college upset. And in that game, it was on a date with 61 numerology, which is the 18th prime number. And South Carolina got their 18th win all-time against Georgia, number 18, on the 61 date. The word prime equals 61. 61's the 18th prime number. Prime numbers are those that cannot be divided, except for by one in themselves. So only 1 in 61 divided into 61. If you look up sacred geometry, flower of life, 61 circles, you'll see where the significance of 61 comes from. Very special shape in sacred geometry. And gematria means geometry and language, the practice of coding numbers into words. Prime with the alphabetic order, 61. So anyway, there's a riddle here. There's 3 Georgia teams that just got beat by teams with red birds. The St. Louis Cardinals just beat the Atlanta Braves and eliminated them from the postseason. And then the Arizona Cardinals just beat the Falcons and sent them to 1-5. And of course, Atlanta's 15. And coming into this game, these teams were 15-15 against each other. So, by the way, when the Cardinals beat the Braves, they became 13-6 against them in the postseason. Atlanta Braves won 36. There's all sorts of synchronicities like this in sports. It just goes on and on. Game after game. Season after season. So anyway, 3 Redbird teams just eliminate 3 Georgia teams. Or not eliminate them, but beat them. Just think about it. What are the odds? And especially a major college upset. Georgia was the number 3 seed in the nation before that loss at home to team that I believe they were a 20-some point favorite against. So this is the ritual. It's just like how the other day the Braves scored 3 runs in the 9th to win their game over the Cardinals with Jimmy Carter, number 39, who's from Georgia, bumping his head and getting stitches that day. Stitches equals 31. The score was 3-1. So anyway, riddles in rig sports from college to pro, which we've demonstrated year after year, season after season. Again, it's all fixed. The officials, the coaches, some of the players, no doubt about it, all levels. Too much money on the games for them not to be fixed, Casinos aren't cheap. So, let's pull up this week's NFL notes. Oh, by the way, if you haven't watched my clip last year from calling the NFL office over the use of the term Hollywood script, go back and check that out later and realize a year to the day, the same announcer calling a very similar game uses the word Hollywoodish in the closing minute to describe the Packers' comeback. And last year it was a comeback too. Hollywoodish. That was the word this year. Oh, and hold on, I got to talk about the Trey Flowers penalties too. Trey Flowers of the Detroit Lions was called with 2 bogus penalties. And if you recorded the game, go back and look at how the second time there was a minute 36 on the clock. 96 seconds. We're going to talk about why they just had the camera on Trey Flowers, so frustrated with these bogus calls, changing the game. The Packers got 2 bogus calls at the end to help them come back and win the game. Both against Trey Flowers, both phantom calls. And they even went to the length to say it was the first time in his lengthy NFL career he'd ever gotten that called against him, and 2 times. So, let me show you this. Trey Flowers' birthday. We want to look at what day he's born. Trey Flowers got 2 bogus calls that allowed the Packers to win this game. So his birthday's August 16th. This game's October 14th. Check this out. It's 59 days after his birthday, right? And his name's Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers. I'm just going to copy and paste it so there's no way to misspell it. Look at Trey Flowers' name. Do you see the values? Do you see the 58 and the 59? Look at what happens when I type in Freemasonry. Whoops. Freemasonry's 58 and 59, right? And they're giving this lengthy explanation of how he's gotten these 2 huge phantom calls and there's no reason for this. It's inexcusable. How does this happen? These announcers know the games are fixed. They're also the same people feeding you these impossible stats that they never question as crap unfolds, and often foretelling what's going to happen in the next play. Notice Freemason equals 96. This whole thing with Trey Flowers, with the clock on 96 seconds, right? And you're playing the team with the capital G on the helmet, which is the symbol of Freemasonry, the primary symbol within the compass and square. And by the way, geometry is 45, like how many combined points you had tonight. Not an accident. It's all symbolism. It's all mathematics. And so anyway, Trey Flowers, 59 days from his birthday. Freemasonry, 58-59. Trey Flowers, 58-59. Here, let me put his name back in. We talked about the 58 and 59. 166, Secret Society is whoops, gotta spell it right. Secret Society is 166. And the other number up there, 131, that's the 32nd prime number. The 32nd prime, special number, 32 teams in the NFL. NFL's 32. America's 32. Remember, America established on a date with 32 numerology. In the Scottish Rite, the 32nd degree, the motto is shared with the Jesuits. A lot of Jesuit influence in sports. We just talked about that with Pope Francis. And Scottish is 32. So none of these numbers are arbitrary. You know, America's game, NFL, 32 teams. Look at this headline from CNN. What the hell happened to the Rams? By the way, we had San Francisco beating the Rams this week. San Francisco 50. They improved to 5-0. They were once 5-0 in Super Bowls. They hosted Super Bowl 50, and they became 3-0 on the road. Rams 30. What the hell happened to the Rams? 131? Well, they got a different script than what they had for their Super Bowl season. And by the way, last year on Patreon, before the season began, we had Patriots beating the Rams in the Super Bowl. A lot of people won big on that. And Los Angeles 53, Patriots 53. So they mean Super Bowl 53. 53 is the 16th prime. You get 16 combined points. When you write out 6 as a word, it equals 16. Brady gets his 6th. 16 combined points, Super Bowl 53. But just, you learn this code and you just realize this is the language that the people who truly control our society, who put out headlines, who rig sports games, who rig elections, these people, they don't mess around with this code. It comes from Kabbalah. In Kabbalah's Book of Formation, it stated God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. The controllers who want to play God. Doing this all day, every day. Coding the same numbers again and again. And at this day and age, they might have an AI do it for them, So let's go through the rest of the rigged week that was. And for myself personally, I had a very mediocre week. My picks were dead even, which is not what I do. 6-6 in the NFL. But I did tell my people that be very careful this week. Don't do big parlays, 2-team parlays. I said the games are just so close this week. Ugh. So Patriots and Giants, right? Tom Brady. If you've read my book, I call 35 the Tom Brady number. Just everything about this man's career is 35. The name Tom Brady's 35. 35 date numerology he was born on, which is August 3rd, 1977. Tom Brady, 35, and just a number that comes up so often. This game had 35 combined points at halftime. Patriots led 21-14. They won it 35-14. It was tied up at 14-14, 1 point. Tom Brady and the Patriots get their 6th win to begin 6-0 in their 60th NFL season. Gillette Stadium, where they play, equals 60. New York Jets equals 60, who they'll face next week, 6-0, on Monday Night Football. For the Jets fans this week, we had you guys beating the Cowboys. New York equals 33, Cowboys 33, Week 6 33, and Cowboys fell to 3-3 with a loss. When you were watching that game, assuming some New York Jets fan is watching out there, did you notice when they blurted out that the Jets had allowed 54 consecutive drives with scoring touchdowns, or not scoring touchdowns, but scores in the red zone? They'd given up 54 consecutive red zone scores, which is a pretty amazing stat. I mean, normally something happens down in the red zone. Missed field goal, turnover, going for it, 4th and short, turn it over. 54 straight. I mean, I was like, I don't ever remember hearing a stat like that. But first of all, it's the year of Super Bowl 54, right? Just like tonight, late in the game, they blurted out that the Lions haven't beat the Packers 5 straight times since 1954. But look at this. Jets, they're the only team in the league with the alphabetic order and the reverse alphabetic order that their name sums to 54, right? And New York in Jewish gematria, the next most important cipher outside of these base ciphers, 1485. Look at this. If you add 1 through 54 together, it equals 1485. Isn't that interesting? And hey, just to give the Jets fans a little bit of hope, it takes more research than this, but if the Jets beat the Patriots next week on Monday Night Football, home teams... Actually, hold on. Never mind. I take it back. It's not a good sign. If I was thinking for a minute it was in your favor. Home teams are now 5-2 for the season on Monday Night Football, which makes sense, something we talked about today. If you write out 6, it equals 52. Looks like 5-2 to conclude Week 6. But home teams can become 5-3. Kind of like Patriots 53. Patriots play the New York Jets. For a second I was thinking that was good for the Jets, but I got dyslexic. So hopefully I'm wrong, Jets fans. I was trying to give you guys some hope. But anyway. So Patriots, they begin the season 6-0, 60th NFL season by the numbers. The Giants had a narrative, though, for an upset in this game. I was hoping it was going to happen. It seemed unlikely, especially since the Patriots were going for their 8th straight regular season win. The number 19 is the 8th prime. We've been documenting streaks of 8 all year in sports. They just keep hitting in the NFL, baseball. 19, the 8th prime. In the year 2019, streaks of 8 have been huge. But Tom Brady, he could have got his 25th home loss all time, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or his regular season loss. It's probably all time. He doesn't lose very much at home. And since Giants is 25 and the most pure cipher, was like, man, that is just right there. It could happen. That's how it can be sometimes with this research. But you got to look at the overall stronger patterns. Streaks of 8. 6-0 to start the 60th season. Gillette Stadium 60. Who they play next week, the Jets. By the way, that Jets game's on a date with 70 numerology, so if the Patriots win, they'll be 7-0. Let's hope not, though. I always cheer against the Patriots, even though it's all rigged. I can't stand that team. Anyway, Panthers and Bucks. I was wrong about this game this weekend. I saw the narrative for the Panthers, and what I told my people is I said if the Panthers win this game, it's about Jameis Winston getting his 37th loss, because Carolina equals 37. So my people get the warning, because, again, the NFL is very QB driven, so it wasn't going to be shocking if the Bucs won, if the Panthers won to give Winston his 37th loss, and then they did with 37 combined points. Again, in the most pure cipher, Carolina is 37. All these ciphers matter, but this one, the alphabetical order with the rules of numerology, most pure, the one that shows up the most. So, the reason I favored the Buccaneers knowing that is because 33 is a number that shows up quite a bit with Tampa Bay. It equals 137, which is the 33rd prime. And again, week 6 equals 33. And this game was in England. This was part of the London series. England was 33. Ron Rivera was on 74 wins. So I was thinking he would stay on 74 in London. But I should have thought harder. Because I remember last year how I talked about how the Seahawks would beat the Raiders. And how it was set up with all these Seattle numbers. And numbers that were very specific to Seattle and the Seahawks. And after they won that game, Paul Allen died the next day. I was talking about what a big Seattle... Or actually, don't quote me for sure if Paul Allen died the next day. Because there was... It was around the same time, though. I think it was. It might have been. I'd have to go back and verify it. But there were a few big riddles with Seattle last year. When Pete Carroll became the winningest coach for the Seahawks, which might have happened in London, Paul Allen died the next day. He got his 82nd win. Seattle's 82. It was even synced up with Mike Holmgren. But anyway, what I should have thought about was, oh yeah, there were big Seattle numbers in his win. And what Ron Rivera got after arriving in London was 74 wins, was he got his 75th win as the coach of the Carolina Panthers. And Carolina Panthers is 75. But I was thinking the 33 thing was there, England, Ron Rivera staying on 74 in London. It just made sense to me when I looked at it that way. But that's why, this is an ongoing study. We're already really good with it, but we still make mistakes. And when riddles are tight, is Winston going to pick up his 37th loss? This is where the most errors are made. But everyone who follows me and listens, they know, they're like, okay, Zach's not crazy about this game. I'm probably going to ride with that one. Sometimes I get excited about games I'm wrong about, but games I get excited about, those ones come through a whole lot more than they don't. Anyway, Seahawks and Browns. This one was a little bit tricky because if Seahawks won, they were going to be 5-1, and if the Browns lost, they were going to be 2-4. Seahawks equals 24, Cleveland equals 51, right? But Cleveland also equals 33 like week 6. Cleveland with a win would have improved to 3-3. And what was funny is they were up early in the game 20-6. So 206 on the screen, the Seattle area code, right? Seattle would score 19 unanswered points. Seattle equals 19 to take a 25-20 lead and then go on to win the game. So, I was on the wrong side of that game. I was like, week 6, Cleveland. Cleveland hasn't had a positive start to a season in some time. Seems like they should get that 3-3 tribute. But we didn't see the other side of it, too. It's like, man, it's hard to go against the 5-1 and 2-4. But, no, they just love to punt Cleveland. And understand, the other thing is mind control of the media over the masses is a real thing. I mean, when people are watching the TV, they're like hooked into something that essentially controls a big part of their brain. The majority of the American gambling public for the NFL placed the majority of their future bets on the Browns winning the Super Bowl this year. And again, if you have this research, you realize there's not like anything that really looks good for the Browns this year. This is like, and it's crazy because the Browns have been a lousy team. So for the whole American public, not the whole, but just the majority to go bet on a team that has like nothing but media hype to win the Super Bowl, it just shows you the media dupes people into doing crazy things. It's because they were telling people how great the Browns' odds were. But anyway, Texans and Chiefs got this game wrong this weekend. But again, we saw what could go on. ESPN called this the year of the black quarterback. And we've been documenting the rituals they've been doing with this. And of course, the number stamped all over Black history is 42. Now you have two top teams facing each other with two black quarterbacks. And we said, man, could they make them both 4-2 to do another 42 stamp on Black history? Mahomes is early in his career, but they're saying, like, this guy could end up being the greatest ever and break every record there ever was. And so far, it's looked like he will. And then Deshaun Watson, who plays for the Texans, is young and amazing, too. And so anyway, they ended up making both teams 4-2. Now, the reason I thought the Chiefs would win and favored the Chiefs narrative over this 4-2 is because Houston Texans equals 51 in the most pure cipher. Pure cipher normally hits, and plus that's why the Texans hosted Super Bowl 51. The 25-point comeback on 2/5 by the Patriots over the Falcons, which we also called in advance. Anyway, instead they went with the 42. Redskins and Dolphins. I said I wasn't going to touch this game. Sometimes I won't touch games. We saw Case Keenum could get his 27th career win. Miami equals 27 in the most pure cipher. He did. The problem was if the Dolphins won, the Redskins would have become 4-9 against the Dolphins in Miami. Or possibly 4-9 all time. One of the two. I think in Miami, though. 4-9. Washington equals 49. Gruden had just gotten fired after picking up his 49th loss. Again, typically when there's a riddle with a QB, that's the riddle that comes through. So Keenum getting his 27th win against Miami made sense. That's also what I preach. It's just two goofy teams and such a tight week. I didn't even want to mess around with the least predictable of teams, if you will. So Vikings and Eagles. This was one of the picks I liked a lot more this week because, again, the Eagles were going to fall to 3-8 in Minnesota. Minnesota 38 in the most pure cipher. And Wentz was going to get his 38th win of his career, which he did. And so often when we see these key numbers, they end up being in the score. Vikings win with 38. In their prior game against the Giants, the score was 28-10, 38 combined points. Minnesota's 38, Giants is 38. Repetitive numbers. Now, Saints and Jaguars. This one was tough. You could have made sense of the head-to-head record with either team winning. There had been a pattern. When WSU lost this year, Washington State University, where Gardner Minshew went to school, Gardner Minshew just was at the Washington State game where they gave up the huge second-half lead to UCLA, 130 combined points. Look at this. A massive comeback by UCLA with Gardner Minshew in Washington State watching his Washington State Cougars. Final score ends up being 67-63. Huge comeback by UCLA to win the game 67-63 with Gardner Minshew, the sensation of the NFL watching. Washington's 130, right? By the way, the Huskies coach, Washington Huskies, he began this season by getting his 140th win over Eastern Washington. See how symbolic that is? He came into the season with 139. Freemasonry, 139. George Washington, the Freemason. But anyway, when UCLA came back and won, they scored 67 points. Gardner, 67, you see? And WSU went down with 63 points. 63, you know. So, anyhow, this game was tight, but because we've been documenting this pattern when WSU loses, the Jaguars win, and it had been going on for each week, I was just going to ride the trend. So, again, Saints are hard to go against. It was another tough call, but I was just thinking, okay, WSU lost. I guess that means Jaguars are going to get this one in a close one. Well, they lost in a close one. Bengals at Ravens. This game, I thought the smart call here was for Bengals to cover, which they did. They were an 11-point underdog. I think maybe 11.5 to start the week. And the Bengals had a riddle here where they had a possible upset narrative and just their division opponents, and they played each other tough. So I thought the smart call here was cover, which was right. 49ers, we like to improve to 5-0 and 3-0 away. San Francisco 50, huge number with San Francisco. Again, they began 5-0 in Super Bowls once upon a time before they lost in the Harbaugh Bowl. John equals 47. John Harbaugh won Super Bowl 47 over his brother Jim, who now, does the coaching thing by the numbers in Michigan. And the 49ers became 3-0 away. Rams 30. And the Rams fell to 3-3. Week 6, 33. Typically, the 33s hit harder in the records in weeks 6. There was a lot of 33 stats this week, but anyway. We liked the Cardinals to beat the Falcons here. The Cardinals improved to 10-2 against the Falcons at home. 10-2. And Bill Bedwell just died on that date, 10-2. Cardinals made the Falcons 1-5. Atlanta equals 15 in the most pure cipher. And a clue that 15 could be the number is these teams were 15-15 against each other coming into this game. And by Atlanta losing, Atlanta 15, they fall to 1-5. And again, like we just talked about, 3 Redbird teams just beat 3 Georgia teams. Cardinals and Gamecocks. Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta Braves. and Georgia Bulldogs. College and pro often scripted together, rituals together. You just got to be paying attention enough to see them. Also, something that was nice for the Cardinals was a little mathematical thing. They became 2-3-1, which is kind of like 231. That's the way you got to read it. 231 is the 21st triangular number. 21 is the 6th triangular number. Again, it's week 6. The Patriots began the week 6-0, winning by 21. And they put up a stat tonight about how Aaron Rodgers had led 20 game-winning drives in X amount of time. So I said to Miley, I said, perfect. So he can get his 21st tonight to conclude week 6. 21, the 6th triangular number. We open the week talking about Thursday Night Football, 21-6. And then for everyone paying attention to what we put out Thursday, they're like, wait a minute. Aaron Rodgers can get his 21st game-winning drive. They just put it on the screen. Titans at Broncos. I didn't mess with this game because the Titans have been my Achilles heel this year. I should have, though, because it looked better for the Broncos. Mariota got his 32nd loss. Denver equals 32 in the most pure cipher. Broncos 32. The one thing the Titans had going was they had a chance at 3-3 in week 6. And so far the Titans have been like, whatever Riddles stack more against them, they seem to do the opposite. So I was like, I'm not messing with the Titans this week. Again, Cowboys and Jets. This game had the most 33 on it of any game this week. Cowboys 33. New York 33. Again, in case somebody tuned in the middle of the video. If you're new here, I'm going to get rid of Jewish Gematria for a second. Just our base ciphers. Cowboys 33. New York 33. Week 6 33. So it would make a lot of sense for the Cowboys to fall to 3-3. Because the Jets, the week 1 game, they showed a dominant defense and they blew it in the fourth quarter. Then Sam Darnold was out with the fake mono, by the numbers as we covered. And now he's back. It just seemed like the narrative was right. And all the public money, 90-some% of the public money was on the Cowboys. And Steelers and Chargers, both teams became 2-4. Los Angeles, California's 89. Remember the ritual we just talked about the other night? Oh, hold on. We just talked about this ritual the other night with the Nationals eliminating the Dodgers on a grand slam. Los Angeles, California's 89. You see that? Los Angeles Dodgers is 89, right? It's also 73. The grand slam made the score 7-3. Walker Buehler opened that game 73 days after his birthday. It's like this game after game. When you learn this knowledge, you realize the people on the field, they're not just anybody. They're people that have been recruited because they have enough talent and the right numbers to fill the script that has been designed. Listen to that Matt Damon movie where he's an accountant. In the beginning of the movie, he talks about, you think they're going to leave the World Series up to chance? He says something about it being all situated by spring training. Exactly. Professional sports are entertainment that suck in a lot of money in a lot of different ways, and one of the biggest ways is gambling by taking advantage of people who try to be logical when sports aren't. So anyway, Los Angeles Dodgers 73-89. The guy who hit the grand slam, it was 89 days after his birthday. Former Dodger, right? And look at grand slam. Grand slam is 89, right? And then he wore number 47. They go on to play St. Louis 47. And again, Dodger Stadium's 211, the 47th prime. So that's where he did it. Dodger Stadium, walk-off grand... Wait, no, it wasn't a walk-off. The Dodgers got the last at bat because they were at home, but it did put them up 7-3, the winning score. And if you're on Patreon, well, I'm not going to spoil it yet. We're not quite there yet, but I think I gave some people some pretty good advice right before the postseason started, based on understanding this knowledge. Anyhow, 89 is the 24th prime number. Both teams fall to 2-4, right? 2-4, kind of like 24. Now, I was wrong about this game, too. I thought the 33s were going to be stronger this week. Chargers equals 137, the 33rd prime. You see? I thought in week 6 they would get to 3-3. But instead they had the 24 script. I guess in a week of kind of punking Los Angeles. Fires, World Series team eliminated, humiliated in primetime football by the Steelers. And, I should have thought more about that rookie quarterback Hodges. I'm sure there's more to it, but he was wearing the number 6 in week 6, NFL 66 in Jewish Gematria. And again, like I said in the beginning, the Steelers, what they did is they picked up the 50th away win for all away teams this season. Steelers 50, Pittsburgh 50. Just like how they participated in the massive 50 ritual earlier this year with the 49ers. The 49ers picked up their 229th win since the AFL-NFL merger. 229 is the 50th prime number. 229, the 50th prime. Again, Pittsburgh's 50, Steelers is 50. That's who they did it against. San Francisco's 50. San Francisco picked up their 229th win since the merger over the Steelers, and they did it on September 22nd, 22/9. Think about how perfect things have to be for them to line up like that, week after week, season after season. The fix has been in for a long time. Again, I encourage anybody who has Netflix to watch the Ken Burns baseball documentary. Right in the beginning, they talk about how it's been all rigged, scripted, conspiracy from the beginning to engage fans and to control gambling. I mean, look at what Scott Van Pelt does at the end of every night. You know, Scott Van Pelt, he does this segment showing how crazy sports spreads changed at the end of the game to throw off the majority of a winning public. It's like the ultimate mockery from ESPN at the end of the night when probably most people are sleeping. The crazy spread changes in the end of the games that killed the public. It's like, and again, it's because the people who run the show, you know, they have a belief system, and I swear their belief system is as sick as it can be. You can't even talk about it anymore. I'll be on my 20th channel. But you can look into the Talmud, Talmud, to understand how these people can behave the way they do, but they get away with it. They get away with it, man. And I'll remind you, every mafia movie, it mostly focuses on Italians, but when they show the people above the Italians, who are those people? You know? Who are those people usually? From The Godfather to The Sopranos. And beyond. Mafia in Jewish gematria sums to 47. 47. What year was Israel recognized as a nation? Was it 1947? Anyway, I'm not going to say any more. I'm not going to say any more on that. You can't talk about it. You can't talk about it. And even when I talk about it, I try to give these people, you know, some respect. Because I say, maybe you guys are right. I mean, as horrible as you are, maybe you're right. Maybe everybody else is just a dumb animal, you know, too dumb to even be considered human, as it's stated in the Talmud, unless you're a member of the tribe. But anyway, so 6-6 this week. But I did warn my people. I said I could. This is the tightest it's been. Hopefully this is the tightest week of the season. It was just like every riddle was but there were some good ones. You know, my smarter people all won money this week because they were like, okay, I really like the Cowboys Jets. That one plays well. I really like the San Francisco riddle. I really like the Vikings riddle. And that's why for those who follow me and listen, because I'm real consistent. You know, I don't get excited unless a game looks really good. Ones that are close, I'll usually say stay away. If I try to pick a side, I'm like, but remember, I'm not good at picking close games. It's good to look for the one-way streets. So anyway, stronger riddles came through this week. But there was some even that you know, I thought they were going to come through. So it's okay. It's okay. We had a good day in NHL hockey. Again, just to show people how it's just scripted all the way through. I was wondering if the Blackhawks, the only team with native symbolism, could... Whoops, this is the wrong blog. I was wondering if the Blackhawks, if they could possibly win today, because last year all the native teams got humiliated on Christopher Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day. This year, the Blackhawks won. They got the native symbolism, their logo, the Blackhawks, if you're not familiar. But check this out. Columbus Day. By the way, some of my people who follow me, they like the Packers to win today because had Aaron Rodgers lost, he would have been 13-6 versus the Lions for his career on Columbus Day 136. And I mean, that was something to consider. But that 77 thing that we talked about in the beginning, I was like, that just looks like the better riddle. And it is interesting how things can even come to be that way. And sometimes that's why I wonder, I'm like, are some of these games, are they like, do they have it scripted so tight so that they can go either way based on how the public money ends up? It's possible. And then they know they can balance it back out in their next super tight game. Anyway, there could be things like that. It might be why sometimes I'm actually surprised at the outcome. I'm like, okay, I should have considered. Anyway, So here's what we saw for the Ducks-Bruins game. Either team could become 5-1, right? But the Ducks were on a long road trip. Anaheim equals 51, Boston Bruins 51. But other things that were pointed out. This was the 37th game between these teams, which is the 12th prime. Just like how American Pharoah became the 12th Triple Crown winner 37 years after the last, something we called before it happened. Just like we called both Triple Crowns before they happened. Before a single race was run, we said Triple Crowns would happen that year. So that's why as soon as we know who the first horse that won the race, we knew they'd win the next one and the next one for the Triple Crown. Again, that's why this knowledge is awesome. The first Triple Crown American Pharoah, 37 years after the last Triple Crown winner, 12th prime American Pharoah becomes the 12th. And then the next year that there was a Triple Crown winner, it was the 144th time it was possible for a Triple Crown winner, and Triple Crown equals 144. So you knew it was going down. Anyway, 37th game, 12th prime. The Ducks could pick up their 12th loss in regulation. That's what they did. And also the stadium equals TD Garden 37. Columbus Day equals 37. So a perfect ritual for Columbus Day, right? This is what we're looking for. Date numerology, gematria, prime number relationships. This is the code with which sports are fixed by. And even when you're wrong about a game, you often laugh because you're like, God, the exact number I was looking at, there it is. Just like how I was worried that Winston could get his 37th career loss because Carolina's 37, and then he does lose, and Carolina scores 37 points. And I should have used my own advice this weekend because I said I really like 50. 50's been huge this year. Kyle Allen became 5-0 like 50. Ugh. Anyway, hindsight. Also, another stat for today was the Ducks could pick up their 16th total loss to Boston, right? And which means Boston could get their 16th total win. Columbus Day equals 136. When you add 1 through 16 together, it equals 136. 2 years ago, when the Maryland school beat Virginia in the first round of the men's basketball tournament, it was the 136th game between a 16 and a 1, and it was on March 16th. 136, the 16th triangular number. And just like how we called Virginia to win the college basketball championship in February this year, understanding this knowledge and seeing that it would be part of the makeup for them getting humiliated in the first round versus 16 seed the year earlier, because there's often trade-offs. So, just like the native teams get humiliated last year, 3 of them, and then this year, a year later, 1 native team gets the symbolic. Well, you can maybe even argue for the Packers because they have a dude on there named Geronimo. Anyway, so it made sense for the Bruins to take it. The Wild and the Senators, I wasn't crazy about this game, but shout out to Izzy. Izzy really liked the Wild to win. He just saw a real straightforward riddle, and he liked it. He saw the Wild could become 1-4 with a win. The Senators could become 1-4 with a loss. That's what happened. And by the way, I guess I can put up the scores as I talk about it, so you don't have to take my word on outcomes. But Bruins beat the Ducks in regulation. Wild beat the Senators 1-4, 1-4. Uh-oh, we got sound here. I don't want that. Okay. So, what happened to my notes? There we go. The Panthers at the Devils. Columbus Day, 37. 37 looked like a theme. The Panthers could pick up their 37th win versus New Jersey today. And they did on Columbus Day, 37. My camera froze. Devils also equals 37. The Blues and the Islanders game. Tough one right here. Blues and Islanders. New York equals 78. Today leaves 78 days left in the year. New York also equals 33. The Islanders from New York had a chance to improve to 3-3, which they did. Panthers beat the Devils. Islanders with 3 goals improved to 3-3. And what made it tricky is the Blues had a chance to get to 3-1 away as well. Blues equals 31. Not quite as strong as the day and just the overall record. And what I thought was interesting about these teams, New York and St. Louis, is they're both battling in the MLB playoffs right now. And last year on Columbus Day, there was a big MLB NFL ritual. The Braves and Indians got eliminated on Columbus Day. And the Saints won 43-19. 62 combined points, just like how the Braves lost 6-2. And genocide equals 62. So anyway, just looking at across sports, Columbus Day again. So anyway, the Islanders did go on to become 3-3, but coming into this game, prior to this game, these teams had played 115 games against each other like it's the year of the 115th World Series. So, and a lot of times when you follow this knowledge, you just realize how mind-blowing some of the riddles are, and you're like, okay, this had to be like so cleverly thought out, so long in advance. It's crazy. But again, planning, mathematics, doing things by a code, it's all within the realm of possibility. In fact, I mean, most of these things can be done with elementary school knowledge. The Stars and the Sabres. The Stars look destined for a loss today. They could fall to 1-5-1, like 151, the 36th prime. Buffalo equals 36. That's where they're playing. Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo could become 4-0 at home. Stars equals 40. They did. They became 4-0 at home. And Dallas could fall to 1-3 away. Dallas 13. So Sabres beat the Stars 4-0 to become 4-0 at home, right? And then you realize, you're like, oh, wow. Stars equals 40. So, again, the numbers you talk about, they so often show up in the scores. The Avalanche by beating the Capitals, something we saw. The Capitals could become 3-2-2 like Skull and Bones. We just talked about the Skull and Bones ritual done with the Indians and Nationals series. And the other night I just put out a video about the Steve Scalise shooting in the 115th Congress. The Skull and Bones ritual synced up with the 115th World Series. So we're like, So Columbus Day, we just did a, Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, Skull and Bones ritual. We just talked about this. And now they can become 3-2-2 on Columbus Day. And notice what happens. Washington equals 50, just like how the Patriots became 5-0 against Washington in the NFL. The Avalanche begin the season 5-0. So, also, the Avalanche got the 77th points in Washington, D.C. I'm always talking about 77 rituals in Washington, D.C. on the 77th meridian, which I first learned about from September 11, 2001, when Flight 77 supposedly hit the Pentagon on the 77th meridian, a building 77 feet tall, 77 minutes after taking off. And we're in Gematria, September 11th, and World Trade Center, both sum to 77 in the Most Pure cipher. Look at it. I mean, you can fact check everything I just said about Flight 77. It supposedly took off at 8:20 and crashed at 9:37, 77 minutes later. Look up the official documents for how tall the Pentagon is. Don't do a Google search because they changed the answer earlier this year. If you look at the official government website for the Pentagon, it'll tell you it's 77 feet and I believe 3 inches tall. 77 feet. September 11th, World Trade Center, 77. And don't forget Secret Society is 77. Don't forget Power 77. Don't forget United States is 77. And don't forget who lends all the money. That was a typo at the end. Anyway. So 3-2-2. It was looking like it made a lot of sense. And Capitals go down. Notice the line was negative 130. You'll laugh at lines all the time with this knowledge because you'll be like, what? The line is talking about... Anyway, so Washington, the line negative 130 goes down. And then this game, the Oilers, had they won today, they would have got their 12 points. Remember, 37's the 12th prime. But I even brought up, I was just like, I don't know, last year it was bad to be, a native on... I was just wondering, could there be some sort of trade-off? And isn't it interesting the score is 1-3? Because, again, last year, 3 native teams got humiliated. The Redskins, the Braves, the Indians. And then this year, 1 native team benefits. And, again, the USA, 41, the 13th prime, 13 colonies, 13 stripes began with the native genocide. You know what I mean? So, anyway, good day in hockey. And, again, there's lots of good days when you have this knowledge. So, now, another game I was wrong about today, though. I thought the Cardinals were going to make the series a little bit more interesting. They got beat 1-8. Remember, St. Louis Cardinals equals, in the most pure cipher, 61, which is the 18th prime. That's why Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in 1961. Go back and watch that highlight. 61 is the 18th prime. Baseball's 18. If you go back and watch that highlight, the pitcher was number 39 and the catcher was number 22. 39 plus 22, 61 for the 61. No doubt he gave him the old meatball. And just look at baseball in Gematria. Alphabetic order, 54 like outs in a game, 18 like half innings, 162 games in a major league season. And again, Major League Baseball with the alphabetic order is 162. Used to be a 154 game season back in the day. Freemasonry is credited with American baseball. Abner Doubleday gets the credit. His name's 154. So, and again, go look at the other year, June 3rd, 2017. It's the 154th day of the year. There was a record set for most Grand Slams. June 3rd, there was the first no-hitter of the season by the Marlins pitcher. His name equaled either 36 or 63, and it was synced up with the death of the Marlin in the boating accident the year earlier. And that date was June 3rd. Notice Major League has the 63 connection, and Major League Baseball has the 63 connection. And then there's Roy Halladay, who died on November 7th, 11/7, the day leaving 54 days left in the year. And anyway, there's a whole lot more. There's a whole lot. And when you learn this knowledge, you just see every day, you're like, man, I'm glad I have this knowledge. You know? It's like, oh my God, I just see through it all, man. But anyway, I thought the Cardinals, I forget, I think it's the manager of the Nationals, had he lost tonight, he would have fallen to 6-3. Remember we were just talking about Cardinals is 63. Bill Bidwell just died 63 days after his birthday. I thought that 63 would come through. But, again, the Nationals got that skull and bones ritual at the end of the season. And we thought, uh-oh, this looks like it could be going places. If you missed the video I just did the other night on Steve Scalise shooting the Republican baseball practice during the time of the 115th Congress and how it's synced up with this World Series, and how the Nationals got beat by the Braves 13-2, and how the Astros beat the Rangers 13-2 on the same day of the shooting, you want to watch that video. So we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Be back sooner than later. Till next time.